David Andrew Wiebe Interviews and Music Business Podcast, Episode 27. Hello friends, welcome to the show. I'm your host as always, David Andrew Wiebe. Glad you could join us today. Do let us know what you think, of course, at any time. Comments at daw-music.com, and you will be hearing the bumper for that a little later on. Anna will not be joining me for this segment, but not to worry, she will be in the main segment. We had a chance to sit down and interview Chase Padgett over the summer, and of course, as you know, we were performing at the Calgary Fringe Festival this summer, and that's where we had a chance to sit down with Chase, and he was putting on a show called Six Guitars, and we managed to get a little more insight into the Fringe Festival, and all of his shows were selling out, so it was a good opportunity for us to ask a bunch of questions and see how he managed to do that. Now, I do want to roll this episode out as soon as possible. I am trying to meet the September deadline, and we are nearing the end of the month, and also because it has been a while since we've actually talked to Chase, which would have been in August. There is some colorful language in this episode of the podcast, which is why I decided to mark it explicit. It's not something I usually do, and I don't generally censor people, so I figured I would leave it all in as is. But just so you know beforehand, there is some language in this episode. So without further ado, here's our interview with Chase. Visit us online at www.daw-music.com/daw-podcast. And don't forget to spread the word. Tell your friends about this podcast. Alright, so we're sitting down today with Chase. What's your last name?
How do you say it? Yes.
Padgett.
Padgett.
Like rhymes with magic. Or tragic.
Okay.
Padgett. It's like pageant, but with no N.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
Why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I come from Orlando, Florida. And I was working full-time for the theme parks there, and then I started doing this one-man show called Six Guitars, and in the last year it's kind of become my full-time job.
Okay.
Yeah. What else? I play guitar and sing, do characters. I've done a fair amount of improv in my days, and all of those elements kind of come together for the show.
Okay.
How long have you been playing guitar?
I have been playing guitar for almost 12 years now. Yep.
Talk about the evolution of the show. How did it start and where has it taken you?
Well, the show itself it's an amalgam of everything that I love to do. And as a younger performer, I realized that I was relatively proficient at doing characters and doing guitar and improvising songs, and I just wanted to combine all the things that I loved into one show. So I thought, all right, how do I do that? I was just driving down the road one day on 50 Colonial in Orlando, and I was like, all right, well, what if all the characters I played in this fictitious project of mine were guitar players? Okay, well, how would I make them all different? Oh, they all play a different genre of music. All right, so originally it was going to be 5 guitars, and then I threw the classical thing in there.
Nice.
Yeah, and it became 6 guitars. I started working with my co-director and my writer, co-writer and director, Jay Hopkins, who lives down in Orlando. Super talented guy. And he sort of gave me the structure and the guidance I needed to get the show that was in me out.
Nice.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So, 6 different styles of guitar. Would you like to, our viewers, or our listeners,
Sure.
our listeners obviously won't get to hear the podcast before your last show here.
Sure.
So would you like to tell us all the different kinds of styles that you're playing for this show?
Sure. I have blues, jazz, rock, classical, folk, and country. and each one is represented, like I said before, by their own individual characters, and the characters are very, very different. It's pretty easy for the audience to understand who's talking, not just because of voices, but also because of physicality. But usually by the time I say 3 words, you know I'm someone else, because there's a big difference between, this guy right here, and this guy right here.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll be able to tell what's going on, and luckily I don't really have to have a whole lot of. Man, it is loud.
Of course, Inglewood has to be noisy today.
I wouldn't worry about it.
All right. It's just been a blast to do, and that's pretty much all the styles. Yeah, I would love to fit in more, but just for the sake of time, I just can't.
For sure. And how did you become such a versatile guitar player?
I'm just curious by nature, to be honest with you. If something kind of captures my interest, I'm definitely going to pursue it and try to understand it and pin it down. And all of the genres of music have always interested me, really.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's Mack Truck
Awesome.
Day in Inglewood.
For real. Man, 7 Harleys are going to drive down here, I bet you.
Please don't. There's a Harley diner down the street.
Oh, awesome. Hey, y'all, let's go get some herps. So blues, that's kind of my first, wow, I love this a lot. And then when you start complicating things more, and you get sort of into jazz, but at the same time, rock also springs from blues.
Yeah.
And then classical, I started studying in college when I went to school for music.
So you do have formal training?
Yeah.
Okay.
I went to the University of Central Florida for a Bachelor of Arts in Music.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And you went to Luthier School as well, am I saying that correctly?
Yeah. That's fine.
Yeah.
I went to the Roberto Venn School of Luthery.
Pardon me.
Yeah. You're all good, girl. And that's in Phoenix, Arizona. When I was in high school, I saw that I really loved playing guitar and I loved doing improv or whatever. But there were no opportunities where I was, and I just thought, you know what, I should probably go get like a job that I enjoy doing, that I can make money at. And I ended up choosing guitar repair and building because I love guitars. And I kind of fell into that, learning how to wire my own guitar in high school. Right. So I found out that there was this school that is in Phoenix, and my grandmother lives in Scottsdale. So I ended up living with my grandmother for 6 months, doing the whole program. And it was incredible. That school, a lot of the lessons that I learned there are not related directly to guitar. They're more universal, and they stay with me to this day.
That's awesome.
It really is.
So if you were to commission, or somebody were to commission you to build a guitar, how much would you charge on average? I do realize, depending on the parts, that varies a lot. But.
Yeah, it does. I'll be honest, I haven't done it in so long now, that if someone wanted me to make them a guitar, I'd just be like, oh yeah, cool. Here's a number of a guy that you should contact. Like I could assemble an electric guitar and get okay with that, but I pretty much like sold all the luthier tools that I had. I did it professionally for a while when I graduated, and I did it a little bit through college to get me through that. But then the store that I was working at closed down, and I ended up not finding a whole lot of work doing that. And right about that time, I started working and performing at theme parks, so that ended up becoming my weekend thing rather than the whole, lucrative day job I was hoping to be. And
there goes a Harley.
yeah, there we go, nailed it.
Yeah.
But there was a time where I actually did build a bass for a friend of mine, and I charged him. I want to say $1,000, maybe $1,200, but I really made it from scratch. And I gave him a good deal because he was my friend, and it was my third instrument ever, But that bass is still around today, somewhere.
Wow.
It's awesome.
Are there any homespun or custom-built guitars that you use in your show?
Not in my show, actually. What I use in my show is a Line 6 Variax because I just need a lot of different sounds. Yep, and that plugs into a Line 6 floorboard FX processor. I really need to get sponsored by them because literally every show I'm doing is like a product demo for Line 6.
Right.
Anyway, but I do have some custom stuff that is not on the road with me. I have the acoustic and electric that I made in school, which have held up. And my favorite guitar, electric guitar to play, is actually one that my dad bought for me in high school. But he bought it for me in pieces because he said he'd buy me any guitar I wanted. And I was like, all right. I did a lot of research. And I found like, all right, I want a Stratocaster body, but I don't want that volume knob. I don't want that volume knob where it is. I just want a volume and a tone where the two-tone knobs are, and I want the 5-way to be normal 5-way, but then I also want to reroute that blah 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 blah. So I ended up finding these parts online at warmoth.com, and my dad bought all these parts piece by piece. He didn't have a whole lot of money, so it'd be like, all right,
wow.
Here's your neck, and you'll get it, the body in 4 months.
Wow.
And slowly but surely we pieced it together, and I assembled it, and to this day that guitar, it sounds great, it looks great, it plays great, and I will never part ways with it because it just means so much to me. It is a beautiful symbol of everything that I had with my father that was good.
It's such a special sounding instrument.
Yeah.
It sounds so amazing.
Yeah, it's I love it. I love it. It's pretty great.
Cool.
So are you basically touring this show full time now? Is that?
Kind of, sort of. Yeah. I started doing the show and at the Orlando Fringe Festival, and I expected like to do 5 performances, and so my friends would show up, and I fully expected to get the "Hey man, good for you, you were up there" kind of reaction.
Yeah.
And that is the exact opposite of what I got. I expected pity, and I ended up getting overwhelmed with praise for this thing. And an article came out in the newspaper about sort of like the phenomenon that it became. It won, at that Fringe, it won Best Solo Show, Best Musician, Best in Venue, Best Original Play, Producer of the Year, and did I say Best Male Performer? I'm forgetting. Anyway.
You didn't say that.
Okay,
but
Best Male Performer.
Yes.
There we go.
Wow.
So an article came out in the newspaper about it, and it mentioned that I was going to do 3 more performances. I ended up doing 9 more over the
Wow.
summer.
Wow.
And then I was like, all right, well, this is going well. My mom had signed me up actually before I even premiered the thing for the Edinburgh Fringe Festival.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we were going to take a family vacation, and it ended up being sort of like a working vacation that I could write off, which was awesome.
Yeah.
So that was an incredible experience I got to share with my family. Then I did it for 2 months in Rochester, New York last year, all in September and all in November. Then I brought it home to my Naples, Florida, and I ended up doing well enough in Naples off of 2 performances in a 300-seat house to not really have to work until Fringe Tour started in June.
Wow.
And since June, I did another performance of it in Orlando. I went back to Rochester. I did the London, Ontario Fringe, doing Calgary right now. That's where I got to meet you finally.
Yes.
Next up, Edmonton. And then for the month of September, I have Houston, Austin, and San Antonio. And then starting in later October, I'm doing a month-long run in New York at the Roy Arias Cabaret, specifically their View Theater, which is like a 75-seat space. I'll be doing that in New York for a month. And then after that, I don't know.
What was your marketing angle for this, or has it been a fairly organic growth?
I have had to learn a lot about marketing. I will say this much. Doing this show has taught me many things not directly related to the art and the craft of performance. Like, you got to learn the importance of a website. You need to have a press kit. Man, I invested money in a good press kit, and because of that, and it's like a professionally labeled DVD that I designed in Photoshop. It has a nice package. Once again, I designed all that in Photoshop, and that has gotten me a lot of press, and maybe I didn't get a good review or whatever, but like in London, I was the front page of their entertainment section when the Fringe first started, It's gotten me great articles in other publications. I have learned that, man, if you want to make it in today's world as a performer, as an artist, and you're not signed to a label, you don't have Tommy Mottola, or you're not on American Idol, like if you want to do it, and I've learned that you can. Don't believe anyone that says you can't do it, because you totally can. However, you do need to learn Photoshop, You should probably learn WordPress and manage your own website. You need to understand, like, well, maybe some people want some merchandise after a show, which is something I need to get on. You need to understand.
Us too.
Yeah, right. All of these things, you have to become your own business, because at least in the beginning, unless you are, you won the singer-actor lottery, you're not. No one's going to help you. So if you want to do this, you got to help yourself. You got to do all those things. However, man, nothing feels better than putting in all that work and then standing in front of a sold-out crowd and knowing that I'm doing it. Like, I don't have to work for Disney anymore. I don't have to repair guitars. Like, this is my job now, and it's phenomenal. Am I killing it in the bank account? No, but I'm paying my bills and a little bit more. I gotta say, it feels tremendous.
Now, this is my first time doing the Fringe Festival. I know Anna's been involved in a few different ways.
Cool.
This is my first time, so let's speak to that a little bit.
Sure.
How do you find promoting for a Fringe Festival versus other types of events?
I actually find promoting for a Fringe Festival is actually easier, because the communities that these festivals are in, the festival's already done a lot of promotion for you to raise awareness for the festival. So then if you say to people, I'm doing a show in this festival, it automatically gives you a better sense of legitimacy, rather than if you were to say, oh, I'm doing a show at the Blackstreet Pub down the road. And, like, if you do that, people are going to go, oh man, good for you. Oh man, you're really living your dream. Awesome. And then not show up.
Yeah.
I have learned that at Fringe festivals, if you want to get people out to your show, there are a lot of tricks to sort of pound on those boards and getting people out there, but the absolute best marketing is word of mouth. So ipso facto, the best marketing is having a great show.
Right.
A great show that people leave and talk about. They had a great time, and they were equally satiated with their desires for art and entertainment. That's another thing too at Fringes. I see a lot of people who are doing, like, they're super devoted to their craft. You see this everywhere too. They're on the edge, avant-garde, and then they'll whine that there's only 5 people in their house. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of goes with the territory. If you're doing something that's like way out there, the slice of pie for that whole audience that's potentially going to come to your show is drastically cut down.
You're naked on stage talking about trees. You might not get a lot of people at your show.
Yeah.
I've seen that.
If you're performing a Sam Shepard play by yourself and masturbating wearing a Pope hat, gonna limit your options. Yeah. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that you have to, my grandmother's crazy. Like, you don't have to have that show, where it's all just shticky entertainment. I find that audiences respond best to a good combination, a good ratio of art to entertainment, like a cake. They respond best to a cake that's the right ratio of icing to actual cake.
It's true, yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. But with all that said, you still got to do your flyers. You still got to do your posters. And I have found that flyering is almost pointless unless you abide by one simple rule, and that is you give them a reason to want your flyer before you even hand it to them. And you do that by offering something that's visually interesting. Like if you walk around in just a giant blue jumpsuit, let's say, and you have like a Velcro dragon eating your body, or I don't know. I've not seen that.
Yeah.
Yours for the taking, people on the internet. But if you walk around with something that's really going to visually engage someone before you even approach them, it's already going to, oh wow, all right, I'm going to give this guy attention. What's going on? I'm interested in this show. This guy's kind of crazy and out there.
Yeah.
If you're just wearing street clothes and you have flyers, people are going to go, oh, wow, as like Mitch Hedberg said, oh wow, thank you. You throw this away from me.
Yes, I hate that kind of
Here,
flyering.
you throw it away.
Yeah, that's how I
it's
feel.
true. You have to make an impact to let them know, hey, this is my job. I'm good at my job.
Yeah.
And I take this seriously, and you should come see it because I guarantee that you're going to have a great time.
Right.
And you need to do that without saying all of that. You need to do that by either wearing something crazy or doing something crazy or impressive. Like I did the Edmonton media launch, right, a couple days ago. And in doing so, people were already lining up for the first tickets to be on sale.
Wow.
So I was like, all right, okay, I'm going to flyer this line. Great technique. How do you flyer a line efficiently and effectively, though? Once again, give them something that'll give them a taste of what to expect from your show, but at the same time is fast and punch in the face to the point, you know? Yeah. So I improvised a blues song, and as I walked down this line, I was improvising a song and including things I was seeing, like what people were wearing or whatever, and then my brother was just handing out flyers. Right. And people were much more interested in my flyer because I was giving them a little sample of the show. It's another thing too I found, if you're doing self-promotion outside of Fringe festivals or with Fringe festivals, show up, I don't know, a couple days early. A week early would be good. Anything earlier than that, then it kind of eats into your costs. But go to open mic nights.
Right.
Go to open mic nights and say, hey guys, I'm Chase, and here's a song, boom. Or do anything. And then once you earned their trust a little bit, and they go, oh wow, this guy doesn't totally suck balls like 80% of the people at an open mic night. I'm interested in, and he's doing a show, and he has flyers. I will, and honestly, I've never not done one of those and seen someone who I talked to that night show up to a show.
Right.
Yeah. It's one of those things you have to get samples out. If you can get on radio, if you can get on TV, that's awesome, but even that's still no guarantee.
Yeah,
We're encountering that.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I find giving people a sample of your product and making sure that sample represents what your product is accurately, and two, is great, is so important. If you don't have 3 to 5 minutes of your show or what your act that you can't do standalone and make an impression on people, then it's probably not working, and you need to have that. Hell, at Edmonton, they wanted 60 seconds. Everyone had 60 seconds to showcase something from their show. All right. So if you're doing a dramatic work, maybe that's going to be hard. If you're doing a comedic work, it might be hard too, because it might be based on previously established information, the best parts of your show, right? And at the end of your 60 seconds, they went, thank you, and you shut the hell up and you walk off stage so the next person can do their 60-second acts.
Wow.
Yeah, this whole summer and all these festivals has taught me a lot about sort of like performing artists' survival.
Right.
In terms of getting people to your shows. You got to be on Facebook. You got to be on Twitter. You have to have a website that doesn't look like it was built by your cousin who's taking a class at the Learning Annex. You need. It costs money, but it's worth it. It is worth it.
Or your lead singer could be a web designer.
Oh yes! Score. That's awesome, y'all. Leg up.
Yeah, very lucky that way. Very lucky.
That segues nicely into my next question, which is obviously there is a difference between surviving and thriving at a Fringe festival.
Sure.
Are there any pieces of advice that you'd like to pass on as far as thriving at a Fringe festival?
Yes. All right. I have found that the Fringe festivals that I've had really good times and successful times in, as well as the other people who I see are having successful times, they aren't just promoting. The people who are most successful are the ones that embed themselves in the scene of the Fringe. They show up. If there's a late night cabaret, they show up to that, you know. If there's a beer tent and people are hanging out there, you show up to that, you know. If there's some sort of like artist gathering or people go to karaoke or whatever, go there. Because
Miss Karaoke last night.
it was pretty rad, y'all. It was pretty rad.
I heard about it this morning from Cameron.
Oh man, yeah, it was great. My brother slayed a freestyle on stage. He's
awesome.
a sick freestyler, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, because then you're networking with other artists, you're finding out from their lessons what works, what doesn't work, what fringes are good, how their numbers are. So if your numbers aren't great, but everyone else's is kind of low, then you're like, okay, well, it's not a function of my show's quality, it's more of a function of the environment that I find myself in, the support of the community.
Right.
And hell, even if you're not like that financially successful, or you just totally eat it in the red, but you're doing that, at least you've made some really great friends, some really great contacts for the future. You know people in cities that have couches you can crash on now. And you've made some great lifelong friends. And honestly, that might be my favorite part of this summer, is meeting incredible people such as yourselves and hobnobbing with fellow artists that
Is it really hobnobbing when it's artists?
I don't know. Maybe is there another word for it? Bullshitting?
Hanging out and having a good time.
Hanging out, smoking weed, y'all.
Every artist does that.
Right. But no, at the very least, you get to meet cool people. You get to be a part of an artistic community that sees its art manifested in every medium possible. You know, I feel proud to be a part of what I think is the forebearer, or no, the predecessor. What's the thing after? Descendant. Thank you.
Yeah.
Perfect. The descendant of vaudeville and circus.
Exactly.
That's what this is, you know? Right. You can see mask shows, you can see mime, and just because some of these art forms, to some people, are a little outdated or old-fashioned, doesn't mean they're not good. Some of those shows are some of the best shows you'll see.
Grand Guignol, one year I was involved with.
Yeah?
I don't know if you've heard of it.
I have not.
It's what horror movies were before film. So it's a form of melodrama. It's a bit of a bloodbath, but it's a little bit sexy, it's a little bit scary. There's a lot of give and take, a lot of push and pull in the art form. It's beautiful, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and there's space for that to thrive.
And where else am I going to get to shoot blood all over people?
I don't know, I think of a couple places.
Besides my other job.
Right, what? All right.
I'm a vampire for a living?
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
I will stuff you into a coffin.
Does your tax return say vampire?
Yes.
Does it really?
Yes.
Oh, man.
1 year it said coffin operator.
That's great.
Yes.
That's great. What would be like the fancy word for like coffin operator that's code for vampire? What would it be like for werewolf? Like lunar sentinel?
That sounds good to me.
We have a guy who is our flaming chainsaw guy, and he's chainsaw operator.
Okay. Oh, would it be wig grower?
I don't know. Wig grower? I don't know.
So you're just getting hairy?
I've had that job.
Yeah. But I just feel really honored and proud to be a part of this modern day tradition that's still finding its foothold in today's world, if you think about it.
It really is.
There's only a handful of festivals that have been around and been established for a while now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Look at Calgary. This is its 6th year. And think about this.
And second incarnation, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I've been involved with both Fringes in Calgary and on the board for this one.
Mm-hmm.
Used to be in another location altogether.
Oh, wow.
It was in Inglewood before. Unfortunate thing is, in Calgary's history, the arts community and the government doesn't get along, and we lost 3 performance spaces in Inglewood in the space of a month.
Oh my gosh.
And it was 6 months out from Fringe. Fringe died there in Calgary.
Oh, yeah.
The new creators of the Fringe started downtown, eventually moved it back to its home in Inglewood.
Right, exactly.
This is a great neighborhood for
Started convincing places like this art gallery that we're sitting in, cafes, a hair salon got involved one year to do a Fringe festival in Inglewood. It's been really incredible.
That's awesome.
Using found spaces, which is a very new concept in Calgary that hasn't always gone well.
Well, look at this art gallery that we're in, you know? I mean, this is absolutely a, quote, found space. This is as fringy as a venue gets,
It
you know?
really is, yeah.
And when I first stepped in here, for those of our listeners, they can't see around. I'll describe what's going on around us.
Sure.
On the walls, we have an art showing right now. Based on the secret life of bicycles. So an artist has combined different bicycle parts to make bicycles as a statement for human emotions and states of mind, and it's really, really cool.
Yeah.
On the wall behind Dave right now, 2 paintings that sometimes I joyfully reference in my show, not normally mentioned in my script, but it's there, so use it. Directly behind me, there's a Christmas tree made out of empty glass Evian bottles. Mm-hmm. And the vibe in here is eclectic, unique, vibrant, exciting, and this to me is like what found space, fringe, guerrilla-esque theater is all about.
Definitely.
I don't have any lights except just the track lighting, and the only cue is on and off. And I don't really have a tech. My brother is just behind the wall at a circuit breaker. And my sound is a little PA system that I had to bring myself to make work, you know? And yet, this performance space has provided some of my most favorite performances of the entire summer. Arguably of really the whole time I've been doing this show. It just gets jam-packed in here.
Yeah.
And the vibe is just incredible. So,
it really is an incredible space.
It really is. And if you look at the other spaces too, some of them are just like, well, 2 lights and a curtain, and this is a theater.
Mm-hmm.
And that's beautiful, I think there's something so wonderful about bringing a show that's so good through its simplicity that it will thrive in an environment like that, I've seen plenty of Fringe shows that have bitten off more than they can chew on the technical end, and when they roll in to do their bits, realize they are screwed.
Yeah. And there are shows with 1 light cue and 1 guy on stage and
it'll blow your
no
mind.
props.
Yeah.
And absolutely incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think it's a testament to the undying, enduring security in storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
Good characters, good storytelling. It has transcended time and all of human history to be a central part in how we connect to each other, how we learn as children.
It's true, yeah.
And that fundamental storytelling, if that's your number 1 priority, I'm just going to tell a good story, I'm going to connect with this audience as best as possible, then that's great. I have never seen great tech save an awful story.
Right.
Never.
Like Transformers, for example. All right. Just throwing that out there.
Good example.
All right, or any Michael Bay film, for example. I saw Transformers 3 because my brother talked me into it. I didn't end up regretting it, but the times when I was just like, oh wow, really blown away, was when giant robots were fighting each other and beating the crap out of each other.
That was the best part.
That's the best part.
Yeah.
Honestly, if they condensed that entire movie down to just giant robots beating the shit out of each other for 20 minutes, I'd still pay $7.50 for that. I don't need to see Shia LaBeouf or that one lady in the Transformers 3 movie. I don't know. She's British.
Victoria's Secret model.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. She is beautiful to look at, except for her lips. I
haven't seen. No.
Picky or weird, but everything about her is flawless and gorgeous, except her lips look like God gave up and then was like, hey, you character artist, get over here and finish this. I got to take a lead. And then it was, they're just so blown out of. Anyway, that's another thing. But that movie's not going to win any Oscars. It's not going to win any awards. Maybe best special effects at best.
Yes.
Yes. And for some people, it'll be a timeless classic, but only because of that. If you did Transformers 3 as a Fringe show, and you.
Oh my God! I'd go see that.
Wait a minute. Actually,
That would be different.
that would be different because then you'd be able to make fun of all of the shitty acting because that's all that's left.
It would practically be a comedy.
It would
be a comedy.
Yeah. And honestly, as a lighting designer by trade, I've worked on shows where you listen to the run through of the script and you go, oh God, it's going to be a long 6 months. You know, where I'm kind of embarrassed to have my name in the program, but here I am. I accepted the job. I got to eat.
Got to do the gig, yeah. I have never seen lighting or save an awful show. There have been times where it has taken my mind off of how awful the things are around it.
Yeah.
But I've never been like, man, the stories were so bad and the characters just so, they were over the top and fake. But The Staircase came out of nowhere. It was a good show, 4 stars. I'm never gonna say that, And I think general audiences come to the Fringe because that's where it's most showcased. Because nothing else really can be. It is as pure as theater gets, I feel sometimes. Just put down your money, get in the lottery, people hopefully show up, you do your thing. And I think that kind of simplicity, it's beautiful, I think it's just so pure. There's no well, hey, we really got to put in some, time jokes here, or hey, man, your laughs per minute here isn't good enough. If you're shooting to do all comedy, then go do stand-up.
Exactly, yeah.
But here, the sky's the limit. You can do anything at these Fringe festivals, and I firmly believe that you can choose any artistic goal, and as long as you execute your specifics well, and connect with your audience, I don't care how ridiculous your initial goal is, you can achieve it.
Right.
And an audience will love it and pay money for it.
It's good.
Y'all, I'm doing Transformers 3. I'm stealing that idea.
Yeah.
I can play some music with it.
I don't know, maybe.
It would have a wicked soundtrack.
It would be interesting.
What if the soundtrack was just all done a cappella by everyone that was in it?
I'll sign up for that. Sorry, I quit, Dave.
All right, I got a crew.
That's right.
I'll sing that.
What are your thoughts on social media like Facebook and Twitter?
I use it honestly mainly for like personal things because I haven't been home in several months, so it's nice to see things on Facebook and connect with people there.
Right.
As for marketing or things like that, I find people don't go to the Facebook page as much, but they will follow Twitter better. I have found.
Interesting.
Because the Facebook page, like if you want to connect with the show or like discover the show, find out more about it, you're probably going to go to my website first. If you want to like mention the show or say hello or whatever, it's more of a direct connection to use Twitter.
Yeah.
I find, but still got to use Facebook. Cover your bases. It's a necessary evil. My girlfriend has talked me into using Twitter. This is actually the first time I've been using Twitter for the show, like in the last week. And it works. It lets people connect, and that interconnection, it's so important. Because of modern technology, broke artists can, with the right willpower, maneuver themselves just as well as someone who has $1 million marketing campaign, as long as you're just focusing in your right areas. If you're smart about your strategy, you can do it. If your product is great, if people respond to your product really well, and you're on all the other stuff, you can do it. You can absolutely do it, as long as you're on your other stuff. And social media, absolutely a part of that. Knowing how to design your flyers, tweeting properly. You got to do it. Got it. It's like wanting a six-pack abs and not watching what you eat, but still working out. Like, okay, maybe you'll get there, but probably not.
No, that's 75% of your effort.
Yeah,
there.
it is.
What are your thoughts on new media like podcasts?
I think they're great. I think they are great. It seems like in some ways they are killing radio.
Yeah, that's maybe one way of looking at it.
Yeah. Like, I love NPR, but I only listen to podcasts.
Right.
Like, I don't have NPR in my car. It's just great. That's what I love. And if NPR was like, hey, we got to put an ad in our podcasts to keep these going, I'd absolutely listen to that. Bring it on. I'll listen to a Toyota Tacoma ad to learn about what's going on in Syria or whatever. I think those are really good, too. And I got to say, I'm impressed with you guys having a podcast. That's great and smart. Anything that you can put out there that is a further extension of what your product is, do it. Absolutely do it.
2 years running, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome, guys.
Started in the summer of 2009, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
How often do you upload a new one?
It's been kind of monthly, but usually there are little audio snippets in between. So
Oh, okay.
I try to update it 3 times, or 2 or 3 times a month.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's absolutely great. Look at, and it leads that kind of stuff, YouTube, podcasts, social media,
Yeah.
that is today's stepping stone to bigger and brighter things.
Yeah.
Like, look at Andy Sandberg and the other 2 guys from Lonely Island. Those guys were a sketch group just loading up videos on YouTube, and it led to them getting on Saturday Night Live and then having 2 very successful albums that are, I think, pretty good, actually. I think are really fun. I will absolutely pay money to buy an album that has Michael Bolton quoting Tony Montana, "This whole town's a pussy, just waiting to get fucked." Like, that's maybe my favorite part of that entire album.
You might have to get beeped out on that one because we do have podcast 14 rules.
Okay,
We
fair
might have
enough.
to mark you explicit for this episode,
Yes.
but that's okay.
or just people out, I'm good with that. Sorry. Didn't know the rules.
It seems a little stricter than radio podcasting.
Really?
Yeah, actually, we have tried to deal with that confusion with listeners and people that we've interviewed in case there was any colorful language.
Okay. All right then. Yeah, but that's the modern stepping stone. And if you want to make it as any kind of modern day artist, you have to be well versed in that. You can't expect to be a working actor and not have a website with a demo reel on it.
Yeah.
That's the standard. You got to do that. If you're a band such as yourself, you got to have a website. Have a podcast. Have those things. I'm still finding my footing, and I'm just only a year in.
Right.
But God, if I'm still doing this 5 years from now, I'll probably have an empire. I might still be broke, but I will have videos, podcasts. I'm doing whatever I can.
Okay. So I have some questions, if that's okay. Part of our podcast is on the music business.
Sure.
And helping younger artists succeed in the arts and in music specifically. So I'm going to ask you some questions and maybe relate it to your career. So say I'm a 17-year-old kid and I want to get into music and I love playing guitar such as yourself.
Okay.
What is the first most important thing I should do?
The first most important thing that you should do, as per Chase Padgett, is absolutely love what you're doing.
Okay.
Nothing is more important than that. And there are elements of competition to this business and making it and doing all that stuff, but in reality, the only person you're really competing with is the musician you could be.
Okay.
Right.
The most incredibly successful, talented, and I would say a part of success is happiness with where you're at. Comes from people I find who have a wild, passionate love affair with whatever their art is. And they don't let anything get in their way in expressing what that love affair is. One of my favorite guitar players is Tommy Emmanuel. And I've seen him live twice. And when he plays live, it's clear that he has an absolute wild, burning passion for playing guitar. And as long as you are passionate and you do whatever you can to fulfill that passion and keep pursuing perfection, keep pursuing being the best whatever thing you're trying to be, other things should be able to fall into place a lot easier. I find the most important thing is having a good product. And if anything is above and beyond that, then you don't get it. If you're a singer-songwriter and you're out there and you dream of being on American Idol, or you want to get on the radio or whatever, if that's your primary goal, then you're not doing it for the right reasons. If your primary goal is to write songs people care about and share a moment in performing them with those audience members, if that's your big goal and that's what you want to maximize, then you're on the right track.
Okay. What would you say the value in a musical education?
Oh God, it's so important. It's so important.
Okay.
Because it opens up doors. The lessons I learned in college, some of them are not functionally useful. Like, I don't need to do a Schenkerian analysis on music anymore. I don't need to describe and break down and analyze a 12-tone serialism piece. But ear training, absolutely have that. If you can't hear intervals as a musician and be able to pick up things by ear, then I don't think you really have a whole lot of right calling yourself a musician yet, frankly. Because that's like being an author and being illiterate.
Yeah.
If you can't hear music right, like how musicians hear it, then you need to get on that. That's an essential skill. And that's what a good, solid music education will give you, you know? There are plenty of people who have made it without that music education, but arguably they still get one because they're their own facilitators of it.
They still understand it intuitively, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You can teach yourself a whole lot. There's plenty of information out there with books. It doesn't mean that you have to get a college degree, but it does mean that you need to be educated as an artist. You need
At the very least, a few lessons or something.
Oh God, yeah. Oh yeah. I think the most important thing in terms of your own education is challenging your own limits on a constant basis. You know, I have ideas in my head that I would like to do as a performer, as a musician, that are crazy. Like, I want to be able to do a one-man, hour-long improvised musical by myself.
Oh dear God!
Right?
Oh, that'd be awesome.
And
I'm coming to that.
okay, all right. That's like my white whale. That's my ultimate dream.
I'll see you next Fringe.
Oh, it might be several years away. I still got to build up my fundamentals, you know.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's within my potential to get there. If it's not, then I'll die trying. That's a part of my education, is going, all right, artistically, what is the most advanced I could see myself? And what are all the building blocks I need to start working on in order to work in that direction, you know? Envision the person you wish you were, and then spend time becoming that.
Right.
Okay. What value do you see in music-related jobs that aren't what you want to do but pay the bills, such as teaching, working at Disney World? We didn't even discuss that.
Oh, yeah.
Fixing guitars. What kind of value do you see in that as an artist?
All right. I'll put it to you like this. If what you're doing is still performance related, like if you're just playing cover tunes and no one wants to hear your original music or whatever, still do that because it's related, you know? Same thing with like theme parks. Talk about that, right? I know a lot of people who are some of the most talented professional actors I've ever met in my life. And they work at theme parks. They work at Disney as an equity actor, all right? And when you do those shows, you get the opportunity to do them thousands of times, which means you clock more stage time. It takes 10,000 hours to master anything, right? Well, if you're in front of an audience, even if what you're doing is the same 20-minute show, but it involves an audience and interact with them a little bit, you're still clocking an incredible amount of time interacting with an audience. If it's not exactly what you want to do, but it's related, do it. Do it, because I guarantee you will learn something from it. I'm pretty good at interacting with a crowd now, but I wasn't when I first started doing all this. And in the space between now and when I first started, I have done an incredible amount of time performing for audiences. It was at a theme park, but to quote Steve Martin, who started his career at Knott's Berry Farms, there is no supplement for the education you receive from being in front of an audience 5 times a day, 5 days a week. And he's right. There is no substitution for that education. If it's not directly what you want to be doing, do it anyway. Do what you got to do. Make it happen.
Okay. For artists who see themselves as above open mic nights, is that the same kind of thing? Go do it anyways? Do you see value in doing open mics?
Let me ask you this. All right, I have not encountered too many artists who have actually said I'm above open mic nights or have projected that. Where do you think that sense comes from?
Well, I'm doing booking for our group.
Okay.
And I call a lot of bars. And I've had a couple now who have said to me, "Are you guys okay with doing open mics? Because that's how we pick people." And yeah, do people have a problem with open mics? And it seems to be the attitude is, I'm too good for an open mic.
Okay, all right.
And it seems, or at least with the booking coordinators I've spoken with.
If you think you're too good for an open mic, you know what you're saying? I'm too good for an audience that doesn't know me. If you think you're better than an open mic, maybe you have a point. If you're already a millionaire and like, if you're Jason Mraz or whatever, and you don't, or John Mayer, or Sarah Bareilles, or any of the other like modern day singer-songwriters that have made it huge. If you're one of those people, and you said that to me, I would still think you're a douchebag. Because what's wrong with an open mic night? Nothing. There's an audience in front of you. And oftentimes, they're filled with artistic peers that you can still learn from.
Yes.
To say that you're better than an open mic night, that's ridiculous. That's saying I'm better than an opportunity. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to learn and with your craft in front of an audience.
It's true.
And those opportunities have to be seized upon if you want to get where you're going artistically. So what you're saying is, yeah, I'm too good for an audience that's willing to listen to me, which is a douchebag thing to say or
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
I've done shows for people. I've done theme park shows for 2 people. 2.
Yeah.
You know?
I've done improvisation shows for 2 people.
Right. Yeah. We've all done gigs where you look out there and you're like, God.
We're hurting.
I'm waiting to the barista.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. However, those are your critical moments. That's like total sink or swim. And the worst thing you can do in that moment is go, I give up. Or I'm better than this. To give yourself any reason to walk away from a tough yet not impossible and performing environment is to give yourself a reason to not grow.
I've seen videos, footage of the Bare Naked Ladies in their first U.S. tour.
Oh, yeah?
So there was like 5 people in the room for a lot of these shows.
Have you heard of Bare Naked Ladies?
Yes,
I'm sorry,
familiar.
I have to ask because when I was living in the States, nobody'd heard of
Really?
them. And
they
I brought
had some
them.
pretty big hit songs
Yeah.
in
Well,
America.
this was really
One
before they
week,
kind
right?
of.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right.
But-
So nobody'd heard of them, and I'm like, oh my god, these guys are so big in Canada.
Yeah, I knew that. They're huge in Canada.
Yeah.
I do know that.
Yeah. So they're playing to crowds of 5, and instead of kind of getting down themselves, they just joke about the fact that there's nobody there. Like, you know, the fire marshal has just informed us that there's too many of you. You're crowding the stage. You're going to have to move back.
Okay, you know what that is? It's the exact opposite of I'm too good for that thing, you know? I feel like people approach life in many shades of emotions, but all those emotions break down into 2 categories, joy and fear. And everything that's positive or negative kind of springs from some source of joy/love and fear. And what that says to me is they play their music, they practice their craft out of joy and love. And if you're doing that, other things will happen for you.
Yeah.
If you are in love with what you're doing and you're sharing that joy with the people in front of you, you're going to be okay. And besides, that's the job that we have as performers. It's not to have an experience on stage, it's to share the experience we're having on stage with the people in front of us. That's the real trick. And it's clear that they take that seriously.
Yeah.
I think your attitude reminds me of a story I've been reading, and I wish to God I remembered the performer.
Okay.
But she likes going to karaoke with her girlfriends, and she's a famous singer.
Uh-huh.
And one day, just because they were screwing around, she's like, I'm going to do one of mine.
Oh, awesome.
And she did it. And this old guy comes up to her after and says, you might want to take a voice lesson, and you better not quit your day job.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. You can't, if you love what you do, but people are hating on you, still do what you love to do.
And she just thought it hilarious, and she said, oh, this is great. He didn't even recognize me.
Yeah, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. I saw, was that Jewel?
Yeah, that was.
I think I've seen that video.
Yeah.
She gets a couple of like face prosthetics so you
Yeah.
can't recognize who it is, and she goes out, you know, and she does Jewel song. Like that, and there's that guy in the parking lot that goes, she's no Jewel. Yeah, I actually ended up doing karaoke at that club, and then I saw that video of her doing karaoke at that club. It was pretty cool.
That's funny.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't let haters get you down, man. Like, I'll give you an example. Have you guys seen the show When Harry Met Harry?
Which
We're
we had.
really, really not able to see as much as we want this
Yeah,
year.
one of the
We
shows
want to
that
see
really
you,
wanted to see.
we want to see Cameron, we want to see Harry. I want to, there's so much. Just because of the timing, and then we have big
Sure.
gigs.
I get it. It's tough. Yeah. Well, I saw Ellen's show, When Harry Met Harry, and it's wonderful. There's nothing about it to not like. It's charming, it's funny, it follows a solid narrative. He's only playing 2 characters, but they're solid, they're very different. His execution of all his individual choices, it's great. He does a little bit of crowd interaction, and it's flawless, it really is. And he has gotten, 4 stars and 5 stars in other cities. He's won awards like Best of Fest, I think in Winnipeg or whatever. It's all over his poster. And I can personally vouch for that show being just phenomenal. And he got a bad review in the local newspaper because the person who has the loudest voice just happened to be one of the few small percentage of people who didn't like it because they didn't get it. She even said in her review, I don't understand why people were laughing so much. I don't know. Maybe that should be a key
Why
to.
are you writing about his show?
Right. I've actually had, believe it or not, just as many bad reviews for my show as good ones. And overwhelmingly, people leave my show very happy with the product that I give them. I mean, I've gotten more standing ovations than not, you know? But the reviews, for whatever reason, sometimes are a little weird. Like, one said that I need to cut half of my characters, and they named 3 characters that everyone comes up to me and says they love.
I think I read that review.
That was in Edinburgh.
Oh, was that Edinburgh? Okay, there was one I was reading where they didn't... Oh no, he specifically didn't like the one character because he was gay.
That was the one here. That was actually her only negative critique. She actually really, really loved the show. But that energy kind of changes depending on, whatever. Anyway, but that's fine. That's a subjective thing,
Oh, yeah.
In London, Ontario, I did my show, and I had a big thing on the front page of their entertainment section for Fringe for the weekend, and this huge review, front page. And she said that my guitar playing was solid, but my acting was weak. And then she compared me to a local actor and then talked about him and how good he is for 2 paragraphs. And said that...
That's kind of weird.
It's kind of not very polite.
Whatever. And then she went on to say that if you're a fan of guitar, you'll probably like the show, but if you're looking for theatrics and characters, you'll probably be left disappointed, and gave me 2.5 stars. I went on to win the Impresario Award for that venue, so I was voted the best show in my venue by patrons, and then I won the patrons pick. The producer's pick. So the award given out by the producer of the festival for her favorite show and most involved in the Fringe, and went to the show that got 2.5 stars. Right. I have found that good reviews are important tools, and bad reviews are something to take with a heavy grain of salt. Because I found out that there's actually not very many qualifications to be a reviewer.
No, that's true.
Don't read a review before going on stage. I learned the hard way in 2007.
No.
We were just talking about this the other day too. It's not like there's a school for critics.
There isn't a school for critics.
No.
Like you can't go, okay,
I have my degree in criticism.
I have my degree in criticism, right? Because to me, I think a good critic is someone who goes, this is what the show is, brief description. This is what's working. This is what I didn't think was working. And then describe how the rest of the audience was reacting to it. Like that one bad review that I got in London.
Yeah.
Failed to mention that I got a roaring standing ovation at that show. Didn't mention that at all. She didn't be like, well, I didn't think it was very good. Oh, but literally everyone else in the house loved it, besides me. So maybe that's just my opinion, At least she was kind enough to say, if you like guitars or music, you'll probably like this show,
Yes.
I'll give you another example of a crappy review. I did 2 months in Rochester, right? It got reviewed the second time I was there, second month, and the guy said things in his review like, the score for 6 guitars is decidedly second rate. However, he did not mention, I didn't write all the music. He didn't mention that I play music by Johnny Cash and John Lennon and jazz standards by Cole Porter. I play note for note what Joe Pass plays on his first pass of Have You Met Miss Jones from his album Virtuoso. I play Van Halen, Crossroad Blues. He failed to mention that there's only like 2 or 3 songs that I'm actually writing for the show. Didn't mention that. Also, he said in one paragraph that my transitions from character to character were clunky. And then in the next paragraph said that Padgett glides seamlessly from character to character. Like directly contradicted his own review in the same review. And
schizophrenic review.
It was weird. And then I found out like that reviewer has a personal beef with the guy who runs the theater that I was performing at. And I'm like, well, what? That's terrible. That's terrible. That's like being a teacher and giving a kid an F because his mom didn't want to go out with you.
Right.
Yeah.
What? That's not fair. Yeah, there is no school for critics. And
Yeah.
you have to understand it's really one person's opinion. If you have people see your show and recommend it to their friends, then you're doing your job. It's important to have good reviews, and it's great for advertising, but it's not the end all be all. And if you get a bad one, even if you get a string of bad ones, keep on chugging, man. If people are connecting to your product and coming back for more, you're doing your job.
Well, the Philharmonic this year is selling out. I think we're the only orchestra in the country in the black.
Really?
And yet our local reviewer hates the orchestra, loves the choir, but will mention things like the violinist in the second row, third chair, and scraped his music across the stand when he turned the page in the third movement. And you're like...
And he's not aware that that's like the most minute gripe. The lead cello player breathed hard.
Oh, don't get me wrong. That guy heard about it from the conductor before he said it. But it's the kind of thing where he's looking for shit to say. I'm gonna get beat.
Rather than just kind of passively taking a part of it, and then when things jump out as weak, writing those down.
Yes. And it's one of those things where it's like, are you kidding me? Yeah, classical snobbery drives me nuts. I'm actually thinking of getting out of classical music because of it.
Snobbery drives me nuts. Because even if something in front of you artistically isn't that great, I will always applaud the effort for putting it out there and being vulnerable to an audience who is paying to be entertained and in some ways kind of judge the product that's being put forth, you know? Mm-hmm. But even if there's a show I don't like, and I've seen shows that my friends have even been in that I did not like, and I'll tell them like straight up, you know, man, I gotta say, I didn't really connect to it. However, that's just my opinion. Here's why I don't think I emotionally connected to it, and I noticed other people were, so it's just not my bag. And I've said to friends before, I think you did a great job. It's not my cup of tea. You know, I wasn't crazy about the show, but I thought you executed it really, really well. Mm-hmm. It's a subjective thing.
Yeah,
you know? So to take the attitude of, I didn't like it, therefore it is awful for everyone and everything for every reason, is giving yourself the attitude that my opinion matters the most and is the only opinion that is right. In a world that is filled with subjectivity, the artistic world. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that snobbery, it drives me crazy, and I don't think there's a place for it.
Oh, it drives me nuts. It's one of those things about classical music that I think I'm ready to walk away.
Yeah, the classical world, rough.
There's so many different things to be snobby about, and you've got audience members saying things to you where you're going, were we in the same concert? Or are you just using terms that you heard somewhere?
Right. Or when someone denigrates anything merely to raise their own status.
Right. Yes.
Well, I have to say the third movement was just so sloppy. I mean, it's supposed to be written as 144 beats per minute, and clearly they were at 137.
Yeah.
Unacceptable. That guy is a douchebag.
Yeah.
And you need to not listen to that guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or if you've ever had someone like say, "Oh, I really didn't like it." Really, I thought it was pretty good. Well, I guess you're right. I mean, what? No. If you didn't like something, you can say that. Just don't be a total douche about it.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, I've seen plenty of shows that I didn't think that were that great, but you know, you still find like something about it to go. Actually, this is pretty solid.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, this might seem like kind of an odd question, but I believe that if you plant a seed and continue to water it, the only thing it knows how to do is grow.
Sure.
So, did you have a moment where you envisioned the show Six Guitars and you got excited about it, felt like going with it all night long, figuring out what you were going to do with it?
Yeah.
Any kind of moment like that?
Okay. I've had a lot of internal moments when it came to the creation of this thing. And even after it was created, it still evolved so much. The show is so much superior, I think, to where it was a year ago. But that moment of, oh, wow, yeah, and then I can do this, and then I can, okay, and we'll start off with that song, and we start piecing it together. Yeah, it's thrilling, it's exciting. And I found a personal trap for me is going, oh man, here's this really great idea, and here's another idea that can be a part of it. Oh, okay, all right, this is really great. Oh, look, video games. and I'll get sidetracked.
I don't know any musicians like that.
Oh yeah, ones that are riddled by ADD and Luckily,
guys, we have to practice now. Can you put down what game is that? What is that?
Yeah. I had that moment, and I told the guy that, in many ways, is responsible for all of my artistic evolution as a performer about the show idea that I had, and I respected him as a director because he knows his stuff. He's solid. And I was like, "Would you help me with this?" And he's like, "Absolutely, I would." But I was going to school at the time, and then I got a full-time contract, and I was working in a sketch group, and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So it kind of got shelved. But I'd always had that idea, like, I think that might be cool. That'd be a great challenge to do. Because I think it'd be fun, and I think it'd be awesome to rise to that challenge. I've had to become a better guitar player and actor in order to do this thing. And my co-writer and director, Jay Hopkins, he ushered this into the world from within me in many ways. We came up with data sheets on each character, and he would ask me a question, and I would just answer it from the vision that I had from each guy. So he was able to sort of like give me blanks, and I'd fill them in with specifics. And then after that, our process was me kind of soaking in all that information and trying to find those characters by improvising as them in an interview. So he would be as if he was from like a magazine interviewing that character. And I have all of that stuff still on tape. And and the genesis of this show came from transcribed, improvised speech on tape.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and it was so organic and great. And it would not have happened if I didn't have someone that I was accountable to.
Right.
I know that I get sidetracked. I kind of lose my way sometimes. I will have a great idea, work really hard on it, and then right when it's at that point of realization that it's going to require more work than I thought it would, oftentimes I'll be like, well, I'll just shelve that for a little while. For example, I have a working robot. That's another thing.
What?
We'll get to that later. But I was accountable to Jay, and he is of a different mindset. He's been a director before. He knows what it takes to get to the checkpoints. We had to be by this point at this date, this point by this date. And because of that, the show happened. And the same thing happened with another one-man show. I do not feel comfortable with doing a one-man show that I wrote and directed and perform. Like if I'm every single part of that equation in its creation, I don't think it's going to be good. It will suffer from the single perspective syndrome. You know. Yeah, Jay is a great guy. He's actually the reason why I'm an improviser.
Oh, good.
I was on a family vacation. I lived in Naples, Florida, about 3.5 hours away from Orlando. We went on a trip to Islands of Adventure, and I think it was Christmas Day. And we went up to this fountain that talks to you. And there was no one around me, and it squirted me with water. And I was like, what the hell? And then he asked me, so what do you want to be when you grow up, kid? And I was like 17, I was a senior in high school, and I said, well, I'm going to graduate high school, and I'm going to move to Chicago, and I'm going to be an improviser. And there was this pause, and he went, really? Yeah? All right, here's what you need to do. Don't move to Chicago. Move to Orlando and go to the SAC Comedy Lab. And this fountain was pitching this theater that I'd never heard of. Looked at it online, and it's actually where Wayne Brady came from. Years later, I moved to Orlando, and I volunteered there a couple times, and I was blown away by the shows, but I didn't feel like I had enough ability to do it. My mom ended up getting me level 1 classes, and it changed my life. And Jay, the co-creator of my show, was my level 3 teacher, and he was also that fountain that day.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
Yeah, because it was on Christmas, and he's a Jew. So everyone else was off that day, none of the contracted guys. And Jay's influence and guidance has helped me kind of become what I am today. I'm so thankful for it.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Any other questions, Anna?
I'm good.
All right.
I mean, I've got a million, but not related at all to the podcast.
So where can people find you online?
They can find me online at 6guitars.com. Got to spell it the 6, S-I-X, guitars.com. And if you email through that, contact at 6guitars.com, it'll bounce back to my own email address, and I can answer things from there. They can also find me on Twitter at Chase Padgett or at 6_guitars.com. And also on Facebook, same kind of deal. That's kind of how that rolls, yeah.
Any other events, shows, websites that you like to plug?
Yeah. At the Calgary Fringe, Dying Hard was fantastic. Grim and Fisher, When Harry Met Harry, Slut Revolution, all those shows that I've seen here have been absolutely phenomenal. But really, I'd just like to say that if you go to a Fringe festival, choose a couple that you think are really going to be great, and then just choose a random one. Worst case scenario, you're out $10, whatever. But more likely, you will be pleasantly surprised by the random bit of art that has been given to you.
Right.
And I think that's really what the spirit of Fringe is all about, taking a chance.
Cool. Well, thanks for sitting down with us today.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks.
If you have any questions or comments regarding this podcast, send an email to comments@daw-music.com. Well, I certainly hope you enjoyed this month's episode. Don't worry, we will be back with more interviews, more performances, more commentaries, more rants, things of that nature. I just wanted to remind you to check out the blog, daw-music.com/daw-podcast. I have been updating it in between shows, somewhat irregularly, but nevertheless, there have been several new posts up there recently. In any case, we will see you next time.
This podcast is a part of the Blueberry Network. You can find this and other great podcasts at blueberry.com. That's blueberry with no e's.com.
You've been listening to the David Andrew Wiebe Interviews and Music Business Podcast, broadcasting from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. This has been a Red Flame production. To learn more about Red Flame, go to redflamerecords.com.